we're back with Rotation Yu-Gi-Oh! Now, where were we? When we last left off, I had just revealed the first set that would rotate, Duelist Kingdom Ascendant. Within this 100-card set were cards specifically designed to beef up the bench warmers of Duelist Kingdom.
Hurry, dumbass, the hearts are gaining on us.
These cards would be joining the 250-card core set in order to create a brand new format. Before we get into replays, I want to talk about the deck breakdown. I'm as surprised as you that B-Trooper was popular. Guess we had a lot of Weevil stands in the audience. Earth Pile was the breakout deck for this tournament.
I think it's a really good pick for the meta.
Using cards like the Earth Charmer Ausa to toolbox into powerful monsters like Infinite Antlion. But Dino, Synchron, and Hero? What are you people on? It did my heart good to see archetypes that weren't from the core set representing the top 4 slots. Now let's see how they performed. Here's a match from Swiss in which Dark Magician plays against the newly discovered Earth Toolbox deck. You can see the hand includes Doodle Beast, Stego, and Infinite Antlion, 2 unbelievable new cards from the new set. They're going to begin with a copy of Magician's Salvation and get themselves both a copy of the Circle and the Soul Servant. They'll go for the Magician's Rod, activate Secrets of Dark Magic, and fusion summon the Dark Magicians. Soul Servant allows them to draw a card and the Dark Magicians to draw an additional one. They'll set a copy of Soul Servant and pass back. From here, the Earthbox player can begin with a Doodle Beast Stego. What an unbelievable addition to the card pool. Let's normal summon a copy of Tour Guide to summon a Sandgan, then link both of those off for a Dark. Sandgan's going to trigger here to get a copy of Archfiend Eccentric, then Dark can summon back a Dark Magician. They're just going to pass turn here, at which point they'll flip up Eternal Soul, grabbing a Dark Magic attack. The Dark Magician's triggers as well, drawing an additional card. What an unbelievable advantage outlet in this format. Compulse will make quick work of the Prisma before it gets out of hand, but Soul Servant will still draw a couple of cards here, setting a copy of Illusion to the top of the deck. Dark Magician's triggers here, which prompts a Lost Win, but Illusion of Chaos is good enough, grabbing a Dark Magician, then summoning it out with Eternal Soul and using the effective Dark Magic Circle to get the Dark off the field before it can search. They'll go to combat, but that'll trigger both the Doodle Book and the Infinite Antlion in hand. Redeclare still happens. Dark Magician will trigger, summon a Dark Magician Girl and the last remaining Dark Magician, which will crash, triggering the Bayer Rock Dragon in hand. By Book of Mooning Infinite Antlion before the damage step, we can prevent the effect from going off, but you still have to deal with Doodle Beast Stego and Bayer Rock. With a breakthrough skill off the top, we should be able to do a lot. This Archfiend Eccentric will force out a very early Eternal Soul, banishing the Archfiend Eccentric so it can't destroy the Eternal Soul, activating the graveyard effect of the Magician's Rod in order to get it back to hand for next turn as well. We'll go into a Dark, activate the Dark to bring back this copy of Dark Magician, then overlay for Domir Vampire Sheridan. That's going to destroy the Eternal Soul and the entire field, then summon back this copy of Dark Magician to make Ra 10, which can trade for one of the 2 Dark Magical Circles in the battle phase. We'll get in for a ton of damage and set a copy of Breakthrough Skill, and this is now our game to lose. With 5 cards in hand, there's a lot the Magician player can do, but everything is telegraphed. Breakthrough Skill on the Magician's Rod will prevent the search. They'll just pass turn here, and this should wrap it up. The Gizmek off the top is icing on the cake, not even necessary with the Antlion on field. Ra 10 will target the new set, Lost Wind will trade for it, but it's not enough. We'll go to battle phase, and the Dark Magician player will concede. This top 4 match is the decider between Elemental Hero and 60-card Sub-Terror. I'm honestly surprised that either of these decks are even remotely playable, but with the Liquid Soldier in hand, you can probably see how Hero is going to clean this one up. We're going to begin with a copy of Fossil Dig that grabs a Doodle Beast Stego to the field. Stego triggers, getting a and then immediately discarding it before going into a Nemesis Warrior and passing. In draw phase, we'll activate the effect of the Nemesis Warrior to make a Numastrix. Very difficult to remove set monsters in this format. We'll cycle the at the end of the turn for another Bayer Rock Dragon, then draw a Dark Bribe. We'll flip up the Numastrix, activate the graveyard effect of the Nemesis Warrior, normal summon an Archer, and try to get in, to which we'll just go ahead and activate Gizmek Orochi. That'll body block, and the Numastrix goes back face down, ready to banish it on the next turn. We'll draw for turn, and Blazeman is a nice one. We'll normal summon Blazeman, that eats an Effect Veiler. We'll compulse the Blazeman to get it to resolve, and add a Polymerization from deck to hand. We'll fire off the Poly, and that'll be met with a Dark Bribe, which draws a card. Now we are just in Objective Survive mode. We get to walk over the Nemesis Warrior. That triggers the Bayer Rock in hand. We'll summon that, and then afterwards go for the Gizmek Orochi, popping the Bayer Rock, but then floating into a copy of Stego, which adds, of course, another copy of and sends it to the graveyard. For turn, they draw a Xernatron and will flip up a copy of Umastrix targeting the Gizmekirochi. That's prime Effect Veiler territory, which allows the special summon of the Iris Sword Soul, after which Umastrix is going to attempt to go back face down, but fail to do so, and will add another Bayrock. For turn, we're going to draw another Gizmekirochi. Let's go for the Orochi effect, popping this copy of Nemesis Archer, which procs both the Bayrock in hand and the Archer effect, summoning from deck another copy of Umastrix. Afterwards, we're going to go for the Iris Sword Soul to draw 2 cards, then normal summon this copy of Blazeman in order to grab from deck to hand a copy of Poly. Poly is going to go into a copy of Sunrise. Liquid Soldier and Sunrise are going to trigger here in order to grab a copy of Miracle Fusion and pitch an Orochi before activating Miracle Fusion for an Ab-Zero. We'll link everything off for this copy of Lina using Ab-Zero to clear the field. That's going to proc both the Bayrock Dragon and then the Stego effect on resummon, getting the last Naa to hand and sending a Xernatron to the graveyard. Special summon back a Veiler and go 0 Boros. We'll go to the battle phase and attempt to get in for lethal. 350 off, will set 1 and pass. For turn, we draw the Hidden City, probably the best top deck remaining, to grab a copy of Archer, set 2 and pass. At end step, we'll go for this copy of Gizmekirochi, add a link point to 0 Boros, activate the effect, but oh no, Xernatron triggers here! It'll reset this copy of and we now have to get over that. 0 Boros here will return at 9400 attack, normal summon a Blazeman, activate Miracle Fusion to go for a copy of Sunrise, trigger the effect of the Sunrise to grab another Miracle Fusion, go to the battle phase, walk over this copy of Xernatron, triggering the Bayrock, and then over the Bayrock, triggering the that's set, bringing back the Stego, no more targets, passing back, Stego dies at end step, it's Overraptor off the top, to grab a Doodle Beast, and then activating the Overraptor into an Effect Veiler. Unfortunately, looks to be all she wrote. Stego onto their side of the field, link off for a Dark, activate 0 Boros because it's in the EMZ, and Hero will advance. This next top match will determine which of the B-Trooper pilots moves on. First, we'll begin with a copy of Galaxy Worm. That's going to summon a Galaxy Worm from deck and enable a link summon of B-Trooper Armor Horn. That extra normal is going to go towards a Resonance Insect into a Seraphine Papillon, triggering the Resonance Insect in the graveyard for a Sting Lancer. Papillon will get a couple of counters, so we'll just pass here. Our opponent's going to begin with a copy of B-Trooper Scout Buggy that eats an Effect Veiler. You would think the turn ends there, but no. We can link off for an Almirage, and now that we have a B-Trooper in the graveyard, we can go for Sting Lancer, met with a Sting Lancer, met with a Papillon, but of course the card will still make it onto the field. We'll summon the Sting Lancer and the Sting Lancer, and both of them will activate. We're going to go ahead and grab a copy of both a Formation for one player and a Landing for another. Landing is going to fusion summon a Cruel Saturnus, and then afterwards we're going to special summon an Assault Roller, use the effect of the Cruel Saturnus for a Sting Lancer, and make a Pico. Now that that monster has an equipped card, we can go for Ultimate Great Insect to trigger the graveyard effect of the Resonance Insect, make a copy of Doomdozer, trigger the second effect of Resonance Insect, and afterwards shuffle 3 back and draw a card off of the Pico. We'll go to the battle phase and walk over everything. Resonance Insect to the graveyard, gets a copy of Doomdozer, and the Papillon goes to the graveyard, milling a card off of the Doomdozer effect as well. In main phase 2, we're going to make a Papillon of our own, and now it's our board to break. This is a pretty fantastic grip. We're going to begin, of course, with the Doomdozer, triggering the Resonance Insect in the graveyard. We'll go for the Formation, activate the effect of the Bio Insect Armor on the Doomdozer, which enables a very early Ultimate Great Insect, eating a very early Compulsory Evacuation Device. We'll go into an Almirage off of a Resonance Insect, cycling for a Mighty Neptune. We'll make Armor Horn from the graveyard by banishing monsters, and we'll activate the effect of the Armor Horn in order to get an extra normal for a Resonance Insect. We'll go ahead and shuffle 3 back for the Mighty Neptune and make Pico, then activate the effect of the Resonance Insect for a Sting Lancer. We'll use the effect of the Sting Lancer here in order to summon it to our side of the field, then activate the effect of the Sting Lancer on field to grab a Landing. We'll go Pico in order to shuffle 3 and draw, and then afterwards we will just go ahead and activate B-Trooper Landing in order to fusion summon a Cruel Saturnus, use Cruel Saturnus in order to grab an Assault Roller and proceed to the battle phase. We'll walk in, that's going to proc the Insect, which triggers B-Trooper Formation. We'll go in again with Cruel Saturnus. We'll proc it again, but we do have the Almirage to protect it from being destroyed. Papillon is going to summon back a Resonance Insect, but will go to the graveyard. Then in main phase 2, we can summon an Assault Roller and use the effect of the Cruel Saturnus in order to summon back Scout Buggy. Scout Buggy triggers here, which allows us to end on a Cicada King, and Formation allows us to attempt to proc grabbing a Cruel Neptune, but unfortunately will be met with the Sting Lancer we knew was added. Should just be a hop, skip, and a jump to lethal here. Pico Felena in order to trigger the effect and send a copy of Resonance Insect to the graveyard and to the back row. We'll go for an Ultimate Great Insect, dueling Ultimate Great, and a B Amalgamation Zect Stagger is too many attack points to beat. Though Cruel Saturnus can proc here, it's not going to be able to beat this Onslaught. Everything back into the deck. Let's go ahead and get a Mighty Neptune of our own, go to the battle phase, Ultimate Great Insect procs, and Oja Master falls. Against all odds, it's now time for our final. After 6 rounds of Swiss and 3 rounds of Top Cut, we have arrived at the 2 top decks. Salad, again, somehow, they don't even have Rage, versus Dino Synchron. This deck aims to make use of the fact that dinos are pretty good at making 5 stars worth of synchro material, by making Junk Speeder. The Salman Great player has won the die roll and opened very, very well. They're going to begin with a copy of Salman Great Foxy and followed up with the Salman Great Circle. That's going to grab from deck to hand a Jack Jaguar into a Baylynx. We'll trigger the effect of the Gazelle and then use the effect of the Gazelle on field in order to send from deck to graveyard a copy of Salman Great Gift. We'll go Foxy here, summoning it back to our side of the field into a Baylynx, into a Jack Jaguar, shuffling back that Baylynx, and then making a copy of Sunlight Wolf. From here, we're going to make Cicada King, adding the Jack Jaguar back to hand, setting 2 cards, and passing back. We're going to begin with a copy of Fossil Dig. That's going to grab from deck to hand a 2-headed King Rex that will trade for the Cicada King negate, and then afterwards we can activate the worst pill you've ever heard of, Beta Evolution Pill Ultra Transcendence into Transcendosaurus Mediasaurus. That will trade for a Baylynx in the graveyard, but not much else, and will go back to the hand at the end step along with one of these Lost Winds to the graveyard off of a Compulse and an MST. We'll pass turn, and a Monster Reborn should seal it up. We'll go Sunlight Wolf and a Lost Wind trigger in graveyard. From here, we can activate Sunlight Wolf into the other Lost Wind, breaking on double Lost Wind. Very frustrating, but does get into a sticky situation for the opponent. We're going to go Heat Leo, trigger the Lost Wind in graveyard, and prevent the Heat Leo from shuffling back the Lost Wind. Then we'll Monster Reborn for this copy of Gazelle. From here, we can activate the effect of the Gazelle, sending a Spinny, activate the effect of the Spinny, summoning it to our side of the field, and activate the Jack Jaguar, putting back a Sunlight Wolf in order to just switch everyone to attack and get in for lethal. This is lethal, right? I haven't checked. We'll gain some life off of the field spell, but I assume it is not lethal. It's actually not lethal. Okay, well, these 2 Lost Wind are going to have to go scratch that. 1 Lost Wind is going to have to go crazy into Pyro Phoenix, Cicada King, and Junk Converter is just not enough. So it's time for what very well could be the last game of our inaugural new pack tournament. You can see that the Dinosaur player has forced the Salman Great player to go first, and that makes a lot of sense, to be honest. When your deck's power play is set gift, make Cicada King pass, having access to a Phantasme is pretty good. They're going to begin with a copy of Circle. That's going to grab from deck to hand a Gazelle. Then in main phase, they're going to normal summon a copy of Foxy. That will find off the top a Prime Mineral Manstrong. Oh, God. We're going to go for a Gazelle here. That's going to be met with a Phantasme. Phantasme will shuffle the hand, and we find a Xeno Meteorus. Perfect. They're going to go for a Gazelle here, activating its effect into an Effect Veiler. Then afterwards, they're going to go ahead and make a Sunlight Wolf, set Sanctuary Reincarnation, summon the Sunlight Wolf, use its effect to get back this copy of Salman Great Circle, set 2, and pass. They'll activate Circle in the draw step in order to grab a Jack Jaguar, then Gift, which will be met with a Mystical Space Typhoon on the unknown card. It's Karma Cut, and we'll let it through. Afterwards, we're going to go for a Xeno Meteorus. Next, we'll activate the effect of the Xeno Meteorus to destroy the Baby Ceratosaurus in hand. We'll activate its effect and be met with a Prime Mineral Congrate. We're going to go for the effect of the Soul Eating Oviraptor. That Congrate is actually pretty devastating on this board, especially when Crow prevents one of the duelists from popping a baby for a baby. Ruddy Rose Dragon comes down just to clean up the graveyard, but it's not enough to beat the apes together strong. It'll flip up and activate its effect. It does get checked by the Ruddy Rose, but getting it off the field means that we're left with a paltry Black Rose Dragon. Normal summon Gazelle into no interaction into Spinny means that we can now go into a Monster Reborn for the Ruddy Rose. We'll go to the battle phase and attack over this copy of Landphalinkus and over the copy of Baby Ceratosaurus and over the Black Rose Dragon before in main phase 2 making a copy of Cicada King. 2 big beefy vanillas and 1 negate might be enough. Mystical Space Typhoon on the Salman Great Gift into Synchro, overtake revealing Junk Synchro. We're going to normal summon this copy of Junk Synchron, activate the effect. It'll be met with the Cicada King, and that is going to be all she wrote. A pass here, and it's just a switch to attack position and the end of your second consecutive tournament won by Salman Great. So that's that. Last time we hosted a tournament, I got a lot of feedback that we should have hosted one additional one in order to let the metagame settle after people's first week brews. We'll be doing just that, giving people one more chance to break this card pool before we release some new ones.